What's up? This is Neil's on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy some silver, some platinum, some crystallized osmium. Make sure to go to JF Enterprises channel and subscribe to him. And be kind, helpful, and grateful because it's better than being a jerk. What's up, JF? This is, believe it or not, about a gold-backed dollar. I think it's about a gold-backed dollar. I don't know. It said Judy Shelton, and she's all about this. It's quite long, actually. It's from Monetary Metals. I already gave them a thumbs up, but it's Judy Shelton's plan to revive the dollar with gold. Oh, that's what it's about. Okay.
I don't see money as just another policy tool to be managed or manipulated by government to achieve its economic objectives. And my idea is that for the first time since Nixon cut off any link between the value of the US dollar and gold, it would be interesting if our Treasury issued a new security, I call them Treasury Trust Bonds, that offered gold convertibility at maturity. I like that idea because ever since President Trump started saying how we really need to appreciate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, I thought, how perfect. Let's issue this on July 4, 2026, and let's have it mature on our 300th on July 4, 2076. Because you know what? It's a little shocking if you say to people, do you think the United States will still be standing tall in 50 years? I'm not sure everyone thinks so.
Welcome back to the Gold Exchange podcast. I am joined by one of our favorite guests and good friend, Dr. Judy Shelton.
But see, the thing is, if they're not going to offer them till 2026, the talk around town, the scuttlebutt, is that the repricing of gold will have already happened by then. So if you only, you'd be able to bring them through fruition and sell them in the middle or after the next gold run has already pretty much come to an end on a 45-year bull market. So you're betting a lot on this, even though it sounds good. It's,
Dr. Judy Shelton is a senior fellow at the Independent Institute, an expert in monetary economics, and the author of multiple books like The Coming Soviet Crash, Money Meltdown, and her most recent book, Good as Gold. Judy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be with you.
Judy, so much has happened since we last spoke. Obviously, President Trump has been putting a lot of interesting policies out there. There have been tariffs. There's been all types of different moves in the dollar as a currency. But I want to start with the gold standard, which is obviously a monetary system that we used to be on. We no longer are. What do you think is, in terms of the chances that we see something more like a gold standard going forward?
All right, first off, to get things historically set properly, from 1933, after the reset of the value of gold, when they supposedly said it wasn't legal for Americans to own gold, up until 1971, we were not on a total gold standard. We were on what's known as a quasi-gold standard. Because if you were an American citizen, you could not trade gold. You could not trade your federal notes for gold. But if you were a foreigner, you could trade the federal notes for gold. And that's why I say it was a quasi system. Because after 1933, they made gold illegal to own. So how could we have a true gold-backed system? So taking the time period out from 1933 to 1971 as not being a gold-backed dollar, which it was not for American citizens. For the rest of the world, it was, but not for American citizens. And then in 1971, we changed over to the fiat dollar, which has nothing to do with gold. We can equivocate that from 1933 till now, we have not been on a gold standard. So no one's alive. Well, very few people are alive on the planet today that were around when we had an actual gold standard. And when it was actually 100% backed by gold, I believe it was from like 1870 something up until 1933. So only about 60 years of America's 250-year history have we had a true gold standard. I don't like that people think that we've always been on one except until it's 1971, because that's a fallacy.
been lots of talks about a Mar-a-Lago Accord. There have been talks
What's
about
up, Callie?
how
Love.
our currency, the dollar,
What's up,
is
Zardos?
valued against other currencies. Do you think that this idea of, hey, we'll all go back to gold, we'll be on a single standard where gold is that trusted unit of account, and then from there we can figure out things like trade or inflation or other policies? Do you think that's a reasonable assumption that people want to go back to a gold standard now?
Yes, we do.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I thought about it.
Well,
It
I
didn't
think
work.
you raised a very important issue of how
What's up,
exactly are
Attila?
we defining a gold standard? Because it's true, our country has long had some kind of link to gold as
I'm glad she's talking about it.
the anchor for its monetary system. But there's a big difference between when we were on the classical international gold standard, and roughly the whole world was from 1880 to World War I, so about 1913. And that was a time when you really
Hold on. 1913 was the creation of the Federal Reserve and the creation of income tax. How unique that combines.
had a unified monetary system. Every country had its own currency, but it defined it in terms of the same reserve asset, gold. So that was just different weights of the same asset. So you almost had the same price anywhere in the world. And I think that set up a level international playing field for international trade, which did flourish during that same period. We didn't have any kind of a system really in between World War I and World War II. It was kind of a mess. We had the 1930s. You had competitive depreciation where countries tried to go back on some kind of gold standard to define their own currency. But then to gain a trade advantage, they would depreciate their currency relative to gold. And so that was called the beggar thy neighbor era. And we ended up with depression and ultimately another war. It was not long after the United States got involved in World War II. Actually, the first memo was written 2 weeks after Pearl Harbor was bombed. And under the Treasury Secretary of the United States, Henry Morgenthau, he said, what kind of a new system can we think about after we get through this war, which the United States was now entering, to give a sense of hope for the future? Because we knew there would be all these war-torn nations in Europe. And some of them, it wasn't clear what they were fighting for. So the idea was the United States would work to set up a new level international playing field. But instead of, well, as it turned out to be the Bretton Woods system, instead of being a gold standard where every country had to keep its currency stable relative to gold, the United States would. That is, we would anchor the system by saying it takes $35 to buy an ounce of gold. And then what other nations had to do, this was going to be this new future system, was keep their currencies at a fixed rate. And I mean fixed, like our allies could only have their currency move 1% up or down relative to whatever that fixed rate was. They had to keep it fixed. But if they felt the United States was inflating and exporting that inflation, those other countries who were participants in the Bretton Woods system, and this means all the European countries, not the Soviet Union, they were invited, but they opted out at the last minute. But these other countries would be able to cash in the extra dollars that were coming into their country for that $35 per ounce of gold rate.
And that is why from 1933 till 1971, we were on a quasi gold standard, meaning that foreign countries, as she just explained, could cash in their dollars for gold, but American citizens couldn't.
That was the way to sort of keep bringing the system back to where it was meant to be. And that kind of enforced fiscal discipline on every government, including the US. And that's a system we had. It worked extremely well. That is, the productivity gains all around the world, but in the United States were very impressive. We had good real economic growth, very low inflation, and we had a narrowing of the wealth gap. The inequality on wealth and income really started to decrease. So what do I think could happen now? I don't think you can go back to either of those systems. But what I'm proposing is that since the US, as a legacy of that system, is the world's largest holder of gold reserves, we have 261 million ounces. We're carrying them at a book value of $42 an ounce. And they're worth considerably more. Our holdings are carried by the Treasury as being worth 11 billion. It's probably about 800 billion, getting closer to a trillion. And my idea is that for the first time since Nixon cut off any link between the value of the US dollar and gold, it would be interesting if our Treasury issued a new security, I call them Treasury Trust Bonds, that offered gold convertibility at maturity. And so when the bond would mature, the holder could either get the face value in dollars, or it would have been pre-established how much gold they could get. And I think in a way it's kind of a novelty. We're not talking about the whole money supply. This wouldn't be the smallest sort of Treasury offering.
Well, see, the risk in that is over those 50 years, laws can change to where they can say they won't give it to you in gold. And there's the risk of that.
That is out there. But it wouldn't be the smallest either. This would be like TIPS bonds in a way, which are Treasury inflation protected securities. But I think it would get attention. And if you could then sort of compare the rate of return that investors demand when they know that they're holding in the future a dollar as good as gold, literally, because they know how much gold or how much dollars they can get in the future.
This isn't just a wallet, it's a rare find. There's
It's
something
not a
different
wallet,
about owning
it's a
something
rare
almost
find.
nobody else has. That's why
No
when
one
Rich,
has it, so keep it away.
Look at the
What's up,
interest
Mo?
rate demanded on that sort of
Oh,
Treasury
wow.
offering
What's up, Hunter?
relative to a normal Treasury offering, fiat money purely, with no convertibility aspects in the future, except into future dollars. That could turn into a very useful information tool for the Fed because it measures aggregate expectations about the purchasing power of the dollar relative to gold, which is kind of a surrogate for commodities, and in that sense, for the real economy. And it could also turn into some kind of a price rule in the future. That is when I talk about a gold standard, or I'm referred to as a gold bug, what I'm saying is, why not use a link between the dollar and gold that is a win-win all around, including the bookkeeping value of gaining that windfall profit?
One thing I really like about your proposal is it's very sober, it's very calm, it's very relaxed. It's not saying, hey, we need to bring the whole monetary system to a screeching halt overnight and swap something over. It's not an attack on other countries or their currencies. It's simply saying, hey, we have a security like a TIPS, which is a treasury that is inflation protected. Why not have a currency or a security that is also maybe debasement protected? So it's in something like gold or an asset that people can say, hey, I'm pretty sure in 20 years from now or 15 years from now, this gold will still have its value or maybe more value compared to the same in dollars, and just let people choose. If it turns out that nobody wants these securities, well, that'll be some information all its own. It won't cost us.
All right, enough about this. Let's see here. Hold on a second here. Let me get back to the live because I just got some information. What's up, bro? Unfortunately, it is very much true. Ozzy Osbourne has been declared dead. He was 76 years old. His family announced his death in a statement, which did not say where he died or give a specific cause. So 3 seconds of silence to the a royalty of rock and roll. I don't know if that was 3 seconds, but it was close. Here's something cool and off the beaten path, as usual, from Neil. It's gonna be fun. This is Stellar Eureka. About 10 vegetables almost lost forever. You can still grow them today. These are pretty cool looking vegetables.
Irony of modern agriculture. We gave up extraordinary flavors in the name of efficiency, and now the varieties we abandoned are suddenly worth a fortune. Corn that glitters like scattered jewels, tomatoes so prized they once paid off mortgages, and watermelons marked with celestial patterns.
Tomatoes they used to pay off mortgages? Interesting. It does have to do with financing after all.
That disappeared for decades. Today, at Stella Eureka, we're uncovering foods that industrial agriculture left behind. These aren't museum relics, they're living treasures, hiding in seed catalogs and backyard gardens, with flavors so remarkable that chefs are paying top dollar just to get a taste. And the most surprising part? You can grow every single one of these forgotten foods in your own backyard. Picture opening an ear of corn and finding not yellow kernels, but a kaleidoscope of living jewels. Glass gem corn doesn't just look otherworldly, it represents one of the most beautiful accidents in agricultural history. This stunning variety emerged from the passion of Carl Barnes, an Oklahoman exploring his Cherokee heritage in the 1980s. Barnes cross-pollinated Pawnee miniature popcorn, Osage red flour, and Cherokee corn, creating something that seemed more like art than agriculture.
Oh shit.
Each ear, the corn cob itself, displays a unique rainbow pattern with translucent kernels in lilac, emerald, amber, and ruby red. When a single photograph of glass gem corn went viral in 2012, it became the poster child for the heirloom seed revival. But this corn offers more than Instagram-worthy beauty. As a flint variety, it produces the most flavorful polenta many have ever tasted, with a sweet, nutty complexity that makes modern corn seem bland by comparison. The tragedy? Glass gem was never commercially viable. Its 110-day maturity period and variable appearance didn't fit industrial agriculture's demand for uniformity and speed. What the commercial world rejected.
And that right there, here's back to economics. This actually has a lot to do with economics. He stated specifically industrial usage. Now, if you look at the terms they use in economics, they say, the big boys, the big players, the whales, and then you have retail, right? Okay, well, when it comes to the food market, no one's filled the gap of the retail. This right here is a business opportunity that no large competition stems from. If you could open up by just growing, people buy this stuff because there is no, Green Giant, selling this crap. So they just stated the industry's out of this food brand of all the foods I'm showing you today. Each one of them, if you can grow them, you can make money on them.
Seed savers embraced preserving not just a plant, but a living connection to Native American agricultural wisdom. While glass gem corn dazzled with beauty, our next variety succeeded through pure economic genius. During the Great Depression, when hope was as scarce as money, an uneducated radiator repair shop owner in West Virginia accomplished something that seemed impossible. Marshall Cletus Biles created a tomato so extraordinary that it literally paid off his mortgage.
Attention collectors, did you know that the 2020 global pandemic created massive disruption?
Working with nothing but determination and a baby's ear syringe for hand pollination, Radiator Charlie spent 6 years crossbreeding 4 different tomato varieties. The result was a beefsteak behemoth, massive tomatoes weighing up to 4 pounds each, with sweet, low-acid flesh that delivered what people call real tomato taste. Biles sold his seedlings for $1 each, a premium price during the Depression, and customers traveled from hundreds of miles away to buy them. In just 6 years, he earned enough to pay off his $6,000 mortgage, giving the variety its legendary name. But mortgage lifter tomatoes disappeared as industrial agriculture favored hybrids that shipped well over varieties that tasted exceptional. These giants were too delicate, too irregular, and took too long to mature for commercial production. What was once profitable became extinct until dedicated seed savers brought them back. Today's irony? Restaurants and farmers markets charge premium prices for the very characteristics that made mortgage lifters commercially unviable. Some disappearances in agriculture border on the magical. The Moon and Stars watermelon, with its dark green rind scattered with bright yellow moons and tiny stars, vanished so completely that it seemed like a gardener's fairy tale. First introduced in 1926 as Sun, Moon, and Stars, this celestial beauty gradually faded from catalogs as hybrid varieties took over. By the 1970s, it had become a ghost story, whispered about by old-timers who remembered its intensely sweet, floral flesh that made modern watermelons taste like water. Then came the remarkable rediscovery. In the 1980s, Merle Van Doren was scouring Missouri backroads when he spotted something impossible, a field
What's
of
up, Mike?
watermelons that looked like they'd been painted with stars. He found a single farmer still growing the variety from seeds passed down through generations.
Indeed.
Van Doren
Indeed.
brought those precious seeds
Yeah.
to Seed Savers Exchange in 1987, literally rescuing Moon and Stars from extinction.
Now, see, just doing that little thing he did there. If you have if you like that colored corn, you take it, you seed it out, you can start selling it because there's no industry on it, so there's no patent on it. So it's wide open for sale for anyone who has a little bit of ambition. There is tons of ways to make money creating seeds from this food sources of all the foods that are shown in this. Get the seeds. No big industry has any patents on them, and you can start a seed saver exchange, call it what you want, and start advertising it and make money on this crap.
The variety that had been lost to commercial agriculture was reborn
Oh,
through the
that watermelon
dedication of
patch looks
heritage
good.
seed keepers. The dramatic rescue of Moon and Stars proves that lost varieties can return, but some vegetables shaped history itself. While other vegetables fade into obscurity,
I have two
the purple
volunteer
top turnip
tomato
carries a
plants myself
secret.
from last year.
It helped create the modern world, then watched that same world forget its crucial role. This humble root, with its distinctive violet crown and pure white base, arrived from France in 1835 and became the foundation of American agriculture. The turnips had already transformed civilization in ways most people never imagine. In 18th century England, Turnip Townsend's four-field crop rotation, featuring turnips as winter livestock feed, triggered the agricultural revolution that fed growing populations and fueled the Industrial Revolution.
I myself, another food source that he doesn't use that's used for livestock, but for replenishing the ground's nutrients, I grow overwinter fava beans. You can also do mustard and a couple others, but they add nitrogen directly to the soil through the root systems of the fava plant, and it's also a food source. So I use fava where he used turnips.
The purple top variety offered everything a growing nation needed: reliable nutrition, storage capability, and dual-purpose value as both human food and animal feed. Its complex peppery flavor when raw transformed into subtle sweetness when cooked, while the greens provided essential vitamins. Then came the Great Forgetting. As potatoes gained popularity and turnips became associated with poverty and animal feed, this world-changing vegetable lost its status as human food. What once sustained empire.
Hold on a second. It's known for poverty? Well, if any of you people think that a lot of people are going to be in poverty, this is going to be their food source. If you have a lot of it, I imagine you won't be in poverty.
Became a relic of harder times. Deep in the heritage of the Cherokee Nation flows a secret that industrial
Cherokee
agriculture
tomato.
nearly erased forever. The Cherokee purple tomato,
I grew
with
some
its
of them last
mysterious
year.
purple-brown skin and wine-dark flesh, represents something invaluable:
And that's how they
indigenous
look.
agriculture
They
wisdom
don't look round
passed
like that.
down through generations. This remarkable variety defies everything modern agriculture teaches about tomatoes. Instead of perfect red spheres, Cherokee purples display complex coloring that ranges from deep purple to russet brown. Their irregular, ribbed
The irregular coloration is known as variegation or variegated. just so you know.
Shape would never meet commercial standards. Yet bite into one, and you experience what many consider the finest tomato flavor ever developed, rich, smoky, and complex,
Man, it's a
with
good
perfect
tomato.
balance between sweet and acid. The Cherokee Purple's journey to near extinction reflects a broader tragedy. As industrial agriculture standardized appearance and prioritized shipping durability, varieties like this, bred for pure flavor over commercial viability, disappeared from mainstream cultivation. But seed-saving networks preserved this treasure.
Nice, Jericho.
Cherokee Purple tomatoes became the symbols of something larger, the importance
what I
of
thought you meant.
indigenous agriculture knowledge and the flavor potential that exists when we breed for taste rather than profit.
Let's see, while breeding for taste to make profit, because anytime there's not enough
From
stuff,
the
price
indigenous
goes
wisdom
up. And if the price goes up, that means you make a profit. Since there's industry not in this, it is actually a damn good tasting tomato that most people would actually probably buy if they tasted it.
of Cherokee Purple, we cross an ocean to discover European innovation at its finest.
Oh
From the
yeah,
sophisticated farms of
Around those
17th
two.
century Netherlands comes a vegetable so beautiful it seems almost too artistic to eat. Dragon tongue beans, with their cream-colored pods streaked in vivid purple, represent the pinnacle of European horticultural artistry. These remarkable beans emerged during the Dutch Golden Age, when botanical innovation flourished alongside trade and art. The flat, stringless pods stretch 6 to 7 inches long, displaying dramatic purple streaks that transform them into living brushstrokes. But here's the magic. Those stunning purple markings vanish the moment you cook them, revealing tender beans with exceptionally sweet, nutty flavor. Dragon tongue beans reached America in the early 1800s and gained popularity for both ornamental and culinary purposes. Victorian gardeners prized them for their dual nature, beautiful enough for flower borders, delicious enough for the finest tables. Then came the great standardization. Industrial agriculture demanded beans that looked uniform, harvested.
the great standardization is also known as a period when we started the not megaculture, the monoculture farming, and we started globalism. The food system started to go into large farms, creating just one crop, and it actually destroys the soil. The earth is not designed